call the Kenya Defense Forces for us. Karibu sana Kanali.
Good afternoon. As you have heard, my name is Karungo Njoroge Kano, retired. Honorable Prime Minister, families, officers, friends, karibuni sana. As I stand here, niko na kofia tatu. I was the chairman of the organizing committee. Jay was a friend, a colleague. Where we started was beyond. We can't describe. I'm the one who signed his wedding certificate. So that is another hat niko nayo. And then of course I cross this side. Na mutanialau sasa nitapinduka pande. General officers, senior officers, officers serving and retired. I want us to be very brief, and I will request our former CDF, General Mwathethe, to come forward, introduce the generals on board, and please, let's be kind. No, because of time, we don't want to interfere with the church. Nisikuja kupigwa by the end of the day as the chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Betty, Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the Speaker of the Senate, Speaker Amason Kingi, waombolezaji wenzangu, hamjambo. God is good, and all the time. Thank you very much. As you've been told, my name is retired General Samson Mwathethe. I used to be the CDF of Kenya. And today, I'm here as a friend of James. But I'm not alone. I have come with many retired people of the KDF. And I would like to just humbly ask them to stand up, please. Especially the retired ones. First, the retired people in the KDF and the serving. Allow me, please sit down. Allow me to introduce the generals and ask them to come forward. I'll give them a minute or two each to just say a word. I'll start with Fatuma. Please come forward. Fatuma is the commander of the Kenya Airforce. She's joined us today, even though she is fasting. But she's with us here today. Please say a word. Then we'll bring the. Let me ask all of them to come forward, please. General Githinji, General Waweru, and General Kanchora Mulata. Please.
The Honorable Madam Mrs. Betty Gitahi, the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, all protocols observed, esteemed monarchs. My name is Major General Fatuma Ahmed, the Commander of the Kenya Air Force. Let me try to be brief. And Mrs. Betty Gitahi, it is with deep sorrow that I send my condolences to you and members of your entire family following the death of your beloved husband, a father, and a friend to many. The late Colonel Gitahi served the Kenya Air Force for 31 years with utmost dedication and zeal. Let me mention briefly about his airmanship. He was an excellent qualified flying instructor and afforded the chance to impart the same skills to many. He set very high standards at the VIP wing, as mentioned earlier, thus ensuring consistent and differentiated service delivery. Ma'am, on behalf of the entire Kenya Air Force family and the service personnel of the Kenya Defense Forces, both serving and retired, I convey the most heartfelt condolences to all the members of your family, relatives, and friends during this period of grief. As we all mourn his demise, I urge you to put your trust in God to give you the courage and strength needed to endure the loss. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatuma. I'll now call General Githinji to say a word or two. I'm sure he followed in the footsteps of James very closely. Yes, sir. And became a presidential pilot as well.
Allow me to ride on the protocol earlier observed. God is good, and all the time. Let me start by saying pole sana, Madam Betty, to you and your family, and to the friends of the late Colonel Gitahi. Colonel Gitahi was not just a colleague, but a friend who mentored many. And let me say that it's hard to believe that he's no longer with us. There's a lot that can be said about Colonel Gitahi, and let me say I'm one of the few privileged pilots in the Air Force who happened to have gone through his hands, and he was a spectacular pilot. Colonel Gitahi will miss his leadership, his kindness, and the profound impact he had on those who had the privilege of working alongside him. We shared both the good and challenging moments for the time he worked for the Air Force. I actually flew with him for a long time before he retired, and I was also privileged to have done a flight with him. The last flight he did in the Air Force before he retired, I did it with him. Through these good and challenging moments, he remained a remarkable mentor and great source of inspiration to many. His wisdom, unwavering guidance, and steadfast support left an everlasting mark in my life and career. He was not just a leader, but a pillar of strength, a man of integrity, whose legacy will continue to live on in hearts of those he influenced or touched in one way or another. His dedication, service, and the values he stood for will forever be cherished. Mama Wangeshi, Mom, as we always refer to you, as I had a personal touch, partnership with Colonel Gitahi, please know that my thoughts and prayers are with you and the entire family during this difficult time. May you find comfort in the wonderful memories you shared and in the knowledge that Mzee lived a life of purpose and left a legacy worth emulating. Though his physical presence is no longer with us, his spirit and the lessons he imparted will always remain. He has only gone ahead of us as we all are on a journey through this world, each of us making their own stories before we too take our final bow at a time determined by the Almighty. May God grant you and your family strength, peace, and the courage to navigate this season of grief. Take solace in knowing that Colonel Gitahi is in a better place, resting in eternal peace. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Asanteni.
Your Excellency, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Betty Montet. I was one of the closest friends of JG, and I'll talk about only two things. First of all, I was in the team which went to Ngong to negotiate how we were going to get Betty to join the Kenya Air Force fraternity. The other thing I'm going to say, I was the Director of Military Intelligence for many years. JG, as a friend, came to me because I was in charge of all the defense attaches who used to report to me, and he wanted to go for a mission. The worry was that we were going to do for 4 years without JG, and we managed to get with General Leshan was the commander, who allowed JG with the family, because JG told me one thing which I never mentioned to Betty. He just wanted for those 4 years to see the children going to school and dedicate his time to see them growing for 4 years. The other thing I was going to talk about, the old man you have seen here, bearded Colonel Farah, who was our mentor. I was privileged to be in a flight with which Colonel Farah took us to Namibia. And we landed in a place called Ojiwarongo. He will remember. In this place, Ojiwarongo, we came out of the aircraft. I was among the officers from the defense headquarters. And we walked to the terminal. We met all the Mzungus who were waiting for the flight. We met them halfway. They passed us, went to the aircraft. We went to the terminal. In the terminal, we were told those are the senior guys waiting for you. They went to the empty aircraft because they had never seen a flight landing at Ojiwarongo with African crew. So this is one thing I was going to mention. That the last thing I was going to say about, JG was such a professional. When he flew President Moi wanted him promoted after every flight. And this is from General Leshan. He had to convince the president that if he gets promoted after every flight, he's going to take over my job, and then you have no pilot. And the president understood. JG, from the commander, the former commanding officer of Flying Wing, he had head of state commendation, medal, and Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya. Thank you very much, and I would say may his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now ask General Weru, who is also a pilot in the Kenya Air Force, to make a few remarks.
Thank you very much. Let me write on the protocols and say that all protocols observed. JG, if you look at me and look at that program, we might share some similarities. One of the similarities is that I'm only 10 months older than him. And when he joined the Air Force after qualification as a pilot, he was posted to Air Support Squadron, where I was already. I had spent about a year or two in Air Support Squadron. We used to fly an aircraft called Donia, DO-28D2, very noisy. And I had the privilege to induct him into that aircraft. Very noisy, tail wheel. And those days we used to operate in the northeastern province. We will go out there for a month and come back to the squadron. I'm sure Betty can remember those ones. And we did quite a number of things, and we became a darling of the army, because it is the army which used to operate in the northeastern province. Fast forward, and years later, I also had the privilege to fly the Dash 8. And who introduced me to the Dash 8? It is none other than this great man lying here. And he took me through the steps. And I also had the privilege of flying late President Mwai Kibaki as the captain, not as a co-pilot. And I just want to say that it is not easy when you're in that cockpit, knowing that the head of state is in that back there as a passenger. It is not easy. And I wondered how JG had done it all these years and he was not showing. It takes a lot of courage, takes perseverance, and I think with time, he got used to it. JG, as I have mentioned, he instructed me, as old as I am. And when I look around, I can see a few of his students. And by the way, we were students of Kanofara. He's the one who taught us the basics. And when I look around, I can even see one of your colleagues, MP, Major Retired Barrow. He was one of the students, Buffalo student Gitahi. When I look around also, maybe my eyes are failing me, and I'm wearing glasses, I think I can see another one who was taught how to become an instructor. Because JG, we have not mentioned this, was the pioneer in the Air Force to teach people how to become instructors. He was the pioneer. And selected by none other than the Air Force commander, late General Washira, to lead in that pursuit of educating our own Kenyans to be instructors rather than going to UK, US, India, and all those places. We did it locally. And it has succeeded. He was the pioneer. I know it is not there. Now, this pilot I'm talking about, who was taught how to become an instructor, is none other than Major Retired Kavingo. Is he in the house? Yeah, there he is. And to date, he has continued the legacy. He is an instructor, and I think he is teaching people how to fly, all gotten from this man lying here. We can talk a lot. Having spent about 30 years with him in the Air Force, I think it is injustice just to talk about 5 minutes, but we also realize the MC said if we empty everything that we know, burial will be on Monday or Tuesday, and I can vouch for that. It will be on Tuesday if each one of us was to talk what he knows about it, JG, or some people refer to him as Munyaks. Yes. Now to Betty, I will not promise you that you'll be there all the time, but there is one person who never forgets, and that is the Lord. The Lord who gave us Gitahi, the Lord who has taken Gitahi, will always be with you. We might disappear, but he will be there. So in your hard times, consult him, and he will give you the way forward. Thank you very much. May JG rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much.